Hey guys, Ash here from Being Swenglish. Now, Sweden is a great country, okay? Let me just preface this video by saying that. But there are some things here that irritate the crap out of me. And this news story today is just one such example where the hypocrisy and the contradiction is just ridiculous, as well as the direction of reporting from the press and media here, where they miss the real story and instead they're going along with the political correctness which irritates so many people here, not just immigrants and people like me, but also even the native Swedes, where they find this political correctness to be just over the top these days. The story today is basically the Swedish police who've just invested in a load of new Volvo XC60 vehicles, which are beautiful looking. And, you'd think this would be a positive. Great, the Swedish police are getting some new vehicles to chase down the criminals and make this country far less crime-ridden and a nicer place to live for everybody, a safer place to live, right? And you'd think that would be the direction of the story, but no. Instead, they're reporting on the fact that the police may have made a huge mistake and cannot use their new XC60s because of some new features in the car that might break the law. They then go on to report that the cars have 360-degree cameras, which you would think would be great because they'll record things and make the place safer and capture potential crime. But no, instead they're talking about the fact that they include radar equipment attached to the cameras, which allows people speeding to be caught on camera driving or standing still, therefore reading the license plates of those cars to automatically check if the cars are stolen. Now, instead of saying that how frustrating that the law in Sweden might stop the use of these cameras to catch criminals, the article instead is focusing on the fact that how naughty of the police to buy these cars without checking, instead of supporting the fact that these cars would be great for society. They will catch people who have their cars on the road that shouldn't, or they will notify the police automatically if there's a car next to them or that goes past them that is carrying drugs, potentially, has been reported via a tip-off. The article then goes on to talk about it's not certain whether the police will have the full support of the law to make use of the new technology and that the legal team are looking into it. But what they should be doing is instead writing this article in a way that attracts public support, that makes the case as to why this should be permitted on the roads in Sweden. But instead it's more focused on, the police are going to be breaking the law, people's privacy will be breached, oh no, what are we going to do? And I just find this kind of story so frustrating because we have, this technology is called ANPR, Automatic Number Plate Recognition. We've had this in the UK for many, many years, and it's proved itself as utterly invaluable. It's not just on cars in the UK, it's on bridges, it's on upright masts by the side of main roads, motorways, etc., even on buildings. And there's no question in the UK of its value, and you won't find many people in the UK that protest against it. You'll find the typical usual shower dodgers who protest about everything, protesting about ANPR, but that's most likely because they're probably the people trying to avoid being recognised by this because their cars are uninsured or untaxed, etc. But in the UK, there are 13,000 ANPR cameras across the UK, and on average, they read around 55 million number plates daily. Now, that does sound incredible. If you've got nothing to hide, then you've got nothing to fear. Ultimately, it reads the number plate, it cross-checks that number plate against the database, the police national database, the insurance database, and the MOT database. And it notifies the police and those agencies of any problems. Now, let's take the example of vehicles without an MOT. We might think, well, why should I be checked for my MOT? Well, yeah, you should actually. If your vehicle hasn't been checked on its annual MOT check, then your vehicle might be too dangerous to be on the road. It might be falling apart, the brakes might not work, the car might be rusting away. And you might still argue, some of you might still argue, well, that's my problem. Well, no, it's not actually, because when I'm on the road with my family, I do not want your car driving in front of me, because if your car has a tyre blowout, or if you're driving behind me and I put my brakes on and you can't brake because your brakes don't work, and you smash into my family, then that becomes my problem. So I want ANPR to take cars like that off the road, or to notify the agencies that that car shouldn't be on the road. Another example is uninsured vehicles. Again, if you're on that road in an uninsured car and you smash into my car, who's going to pay for the damage if it's your fault? You certainly won't, because your car's uninsured. What you also tend to find is there is a correlation between people who drive uninsured and crime. People generally who don't insure their car have other issues as well. It's very common that you'll find a car that's uninsured is also untaxed, un-MOT'd, and the driver quite often doesn't have a driving license. That's why their car is uninsured, because you have to have those elements to get insurance in the UK. So again, another massive value. Unlawful number plates. Now, again, this might sound stupid. If ANPR can't recognise the number plate, it's because the number plate is not in the legal format, the legal font that's required, the legal font size, or the number plate size. And again, you might argue, well, that's ridiculous. Why are we reporting on that? Well, actually, there's a good reason for that. If your car is involved in a crime, if somebody is involved in a hit and run, and they run over your child or run you over, and you just manage to get a glimpse of that number plate, or witnesses manage to get a look at the number plate of that car, then they can report that number plate as a witness testimony, and that car can be identified or found along with who owns that car and the driver of it. But if your font or the number plate size or the font size is not standard, then it can become very hard to read that number plate from a witness perspective. And if that car's fleeing the scene and you're not sure if a 1 is an L or it's something else because they've spaced it differently to look like their name, losers, then that car gets away potentially, and that crime gets away without anybody being prosecuted for it. So there are very, very good reasons. The final one is anti-terrorism. If a car is suspected to be involved in terrorism, or the owner of that car is, then ANPR tracks that car. And ANPR has stopped numerous terrorist attacks in the UK because they've seen a car moving that's related to a known terrorist who they've been watching, and they can stop that crime before that car travels into a major capital city and explode some device in that car. Now, that might sound over the top, but it's happened. They have stopped terrorism due to ANPR on multiple occasions. That makes it a massive positive. Now, with crime levels increasing in the UK, this is so important. And for the press not to be supporting the real reason for this and explaining all of these purposes that I've just communicated in this video frustrates me and says it all about this country, where people are more worried about their privacy and their human rights than they are about stopping terrorist attacks, than they are about stopping people being run over without anybody being prosecuted, than they are about cars that are not fit to be on the road and potentially falling apart, taking those cars off the road. And that frustrates the hell out of me. And especially when these same people protesting about privacy and human rights don't seem too bothered by the fact that you can type in anybody's name in Google on Ratsit or Hita.se and find their full name, their address, who else lives in their house, their salary, their income, which cars they own, whether they own a dog, and lots of other details that's publicly available about everybody, who they're married to, whether they're married or not, or single. They don't seem to be so bothered about that, do they? And yet they're concerned about ANPR, which protects society. This nation baffles me sometimes. I just hope they see sense on this topic. Let's see. Comment below with your thoughts about this. Share this video to explain the benefits of ANPR to those who might be disputing it. Give the video a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you have something to hide and don't want your number plate recognised, because that's the only reason why you wouldn't want it recognised, if you're part of the problem. Thanks for watching, folks.